I'd be very comfortable if we didn't end up doing anything at the trade deadline and we were going forward with this group. I would feel strongly that we could win and make a good run. And then that's what we always plan for as a staff. You never plan on a trade. You just kind of wait and see what happens.
I wonder how everyone is feeling in the organization. Like, I got to imagine at least this feels a little nerve-wracking when there's some unknown about Steph Curry's health. So how's everyone doing on that?
Well, we know it's not too serious, so that's the good thing. But obviously we miss him already. We haven't played a game yet, but we miss him already. So it's kind of a day-to-day thing, and hopefully it won't hamper him too much, and that he'll be back full time soon. But we got to go through the process, and the training staff's got to get him right, and we'll see how it all plays out.
So nothing showed up on the imaging, the X-ray or the MRI, if there was one, that would indicate anything other than, quote, a runner's knee syndrome?
Yeah, exactly. And, this was something that was bothering him. That's why he missed the game in Minnesota. So it's kind of been nagging at him. And, we've got to help him, get over the hump here. So we'll see what that means.
Steve, you've been really open about how odd this week is for all of the guys in this industry, quite frankly, with the trade deadline looming the way it is. So I do think we've got a few sort of questions about that. But also, because we're sitting here and the name Jonathan Kuminga comes up, can fans assume that if he's healthy and still on the team, does he resume the role that you were starting to play with before he got hurt?
Oh, at minimum, with Jimmy's injury, it changes everything for us and for JK. And it was good to have him back in the lineup, in the rotation. And now that Jimmy's out, we'll see what happens with the trade deadline. But if nothing happens, JK's right back in the rotation, and we keep moving forward. And it's. I think we've both said, to you guys and to the media many times, we've always gotten along well, and there's never been any issues on that front. It's really been more about playing time, and the door is wide open for him now with Jimmy's injury. So I hope we get him back, and I hope he can continue to to play like he did in those couple games when he got back in the rotation. He was really good.
And is the door more open because of not only the fact that, Jimmy and he play the same position, but the way that they play together, the fact that he won't be playing with Jimmy, does that give a little bit more leeway for JK to go out there and play with the others? For sure. And we're having to reinvent ourselves a little bit without Jimmy. You've already seen it. I think we've played 5 games without him, and so you're seeing some differences in our style of play and combinations and that sort of thing. So JK is definitely going to be a part of that, and I'm anxious to get him back, and I know he's anxious to get back.
Your team has a way, whether you guys are winning all the games or not, you have a way of being right up in front on the top of all the sports shows. And that is the case this week as well, and everybody involved knows exactly why, because of all the talk that's going on. So I know you've said that you always talk to your guys about the trade deadline. Does this one feel elevated at all? Maybe even a little bit more so, because honestly, just about everybody's name other than Steph is getting thrown around all over right now.
It does. It does feel different. Everyone feels a little different based on the circumstances, and obviously we're in a weird spot now. With Jimmy's injury, that's thrown everybody for a loop. Just kind of where we are in the playoff picture in the West. The fact that that the names that are being thrown around out there. On other teams and our team, it does feel like it's a little trickier this year, and there are more possibilities. And as a result, lots of guys on our team are on edge, and I'm not going to shy away from that. It's just part of it for sure.
Is the trade deadline, and desperation's too strong, but I can't find the word that would dial that back a little bit, but is that feeling kind of tamped down by the fact that Jimmy got hurt? Is there more of a sense of, let's do what we can do to be ready for next year?
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I do feel better about this year's team than last year's in terms of playing without Jimmy. The addition of Melton and the way Al Horford is playing. If we're fully healthy, I think we can win a lot of games. I really feel strongly about that. I'm not sure we were able to do that last year. I'd be very comfortable if we didn't end up doing anything at the trade deadline and we were going forward with this group. I would feel strongly that we could win and make a good run. And then that's what we always plan for as a staff. You never plan on a trade. You just kind of wait and see what happens. Obviously, that's not our job. And got a big game in Phoenix. Obviously, all the other stuff will be happening upstairs from us.
Lots of guys on our team are on edge. Okay, so what do you do about that? Are there more conversations? Are the conversations more serious in tone than usual? What's your role in a moment like that?
Well, I talked to the whole team about the trade deadline and about the nature of the job. We had a really good discussion about stuff, and then I'll speak individually to guys as well. I'll pull them aside and just check in with them, see how they're doing. It really helps to have veteran leadership, guys who have been around the block in this league. Al Horford is just such an incredible addition to our team for multiple reasons, but for him, guys who, Melton, Buddy, all these guys who have been through the ringer a little bit and been traded and had to move, they can share their wisdom with the younger players, and that's really helpful.
What's also interesting here, Steve, is I'm wondering if Draymond Green is one of those players on edge, only because he brought it up. The discussion Friday about how, he's been with the organization his whole life, but he's sleeping good, and if he gets traded, he gets traded. I mean, is that something that even the two of you have had to discuss this time around?
We have talked, and Draymond and I talk all the time. I think what's really tricky for Draymond is this is the only place he's ever known, and he's this guy's going to have a statue outside the building someday. It's a really weird position for him to be in, for sure, because he's just, there's never really been a time in his entire career, I think, where, he even really had to think about putting on another jersey. I guess maybe with his restricted free agency a few summers ago, but he's never been through this. And so it's definitely, on his mind and not something that's easy to deal with, but you just, as a pro, as an NBA player, you just have to embrace that it's always a possibility. Even some of the greatest players of all time got traded, between Kareem and Wilt and Dr. J. I mean, go down the list. And so it's just part of it. And guys understand that, but it is difficult, especially if you've never been traded before.
And you talk a lot about everything having an expiration date, and if that were to happen, it would just be you and Steph remaining from when you began with the team, 11 or so years ago. Have you had any of those thoughts about, where you are and where the team is and, the prospect of, this whole thing slowly starting to reach its end?
Yeah, you can't help but having some of those thoughts. But at the same time, when you're in the midst of the season and you're playing games every other night, there's not much time to think about that. It's not a thought that I relish. This has been such an incredible 12 years for me, and beyond that for Steph and Dre and what those guys mean to me, what this organization means to me, and to them. It's a tricky business, but how lucky are we all to have been part of this for this long of a period of time. I mean, this rarely happens in the NBA. So I think we're all committed to just enjoying every last second of it, and we just don't know when it's going to end. So we can't worry about it too much.
Steve, if nothing happens and Steph's injury is not serious, what are the chances in your mind that this team can still compete at the highest of levels?
Well, as I just mentioned, I really believe with the depth, with Al, with Melton, the veteran two-way play that they bring, I really think if we're healthy, we're clicking, I think we can compete with anybody. Obviously, losing Jimmy is just a huge blow. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league, and I felt like Jimmy gave us a chance to win, multiple playoff series, potentially even a championship. I think, to sit here and say, well, we can still do that. That would take a lot of good fortune, and a lot of breaks, and so I think you have to acknowledge that our ceiling is lower without Jimmy. But we still feel strongly that we have a good team. We can make a run, and that's the whole focus. You just try to be as best as you possibly can, and you never know how things play out. That's why you compete. That's why you play.
No Steph, no Jimmy, and no JK. What's the approach going to be? Who are you going to lean on? And obviously you won't give out the starting lineup, but who are you looking to maybe get the increased minutes to pick up the slack?
Well, we'll see. It might be game to game. I mean, so many of the lineup combinations that we play are dependent on who's available, who's playing well together. A lot of guys, we kind of check how they're playing with Steph. Well, with Steph out now, it means we have to kind of reimagine ourselves, and that's what we've been doing as a staff already. Without Jimmy, that's whatever it is, 16 minutes a game, where Jimmy has been running ISOs with spacing around him. Those ISOs are gone now, and so we're having to play a little bit differently, play some different combinations, and now we'll see without Steph what that means, but there will be some experimentation for sure.